What's going on, Bulls Nation? Welcome into the CHGO Bulls Podcast, coming live from our studios here in West Loop, downtown Chicago. I'm Peck, Bulls _Peck, Big Day, bam. BNWL Sports, Will the Go Gottlieb, Will _ Gottlieb. Our pal and producer on the controls is Joey Spathis. He is at Joey Spathis. And that's right, Joe, the Combine has begun.
Combine.
Day one here in Chicago. On the heels of the NBA Draft Lottery, which happened yesterday. Bulls stay at 11, no luck. Screw the Atlanta Hawks. Happy Monday.
Happy Monday.
We're back, baby.
We're back, baby.
I'm excited to talk to Will.
The NBA offseason rolls on.
Yes.
Well, I mean, also the NBA playoffs simultaneously roll on, but not for us.
Wait, there's still basketball going on?
There is. Two series got tied 2-2 last night. I love it. Called it. Jordan Feed's back. Yeah, so lots to get to on today's show. We are going to talk about the Combine. Will, you were there earlier today, getting our first look at some of these prospects the Bulls might be targeting with that 11th pick in next month's NBA draft. Before that, though, also needed to touch on some Bulls news. More staff changes, more potential staff changes. Rats fleeing a sinking ship. In case you missed the news earlier today, first let's touch on this from Adrian Wojnarowski. Chicago Bulls assistant Josh Longstaff is joining the Charlotte Hornets on Charles Lee's new coaching staff, sources tell ESPN. Longstaff, who spent 4 years with Billy Donovan, also worked under Budenholzer in Milwaukee and as a Hawks G League head coach. There were rumors and reports that he might consider following Budenholzer to Phoenix and instead opts to take this job with the Charlotte Hornets. I think the interesting wrinkle here is that in previous reporting, when we heard Chris Fleming, who has been a longtime top assistant for Billy, he was even here during the He Who Must Not Be Named regime, was leaving, and Mo Cheeks was going to take a step back and a smaller role on the Bulls staff. The Longstaff was an in-house candidate to become sort of promoted to Billy's lead assistant. And clearly with today's news, that is not the case.
No, and it's weird that Charlotte is the team that is like, yeah, I want to go there. You know, like, and I don't know what
the contract
says.
offer was nice.
No, I'm sure. I don't know what it says.
And the comfortability of working with someone he's worked with before.
All that's true, but he turned down Phoenix as well. You know what I mean? Like you said.
Well, who wants to work with that shit show? I mean, but that's Ishbia's created all kinds of problems for that team.
I mean, but that again, we're talking shit shows. We're talking Charlotte. You know what I mean? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like
the shittiest of shit shows.
Right, you know what I mean? Like right there, but. Maybe he's looking at the youth, you know what I mean? Like, they do have young players. Brandon Miller is awesome. You know, Ball, of course, is really good. They got some young players there. Of course, they'll probably have a draft pick they bring in.
Yeah.
Maybe he has more sway and more say-so, and like Joey said, a nicer paycheck for all those things. But it's just funny hearing it on my ears, like, wow, dude, we get falling far. Like, that's how I felt, you know, when I was like, man, you know what, Bulls? I'm going to Charlotte. That's where I'm going to go. I'm going to get Charlotte and go there and be the assistant coach there and not be an assistant coach here. You know, Phoenix lessens the blow, but still, that was my very first thought when I heard that.
Yeah, I think that's a piece of it for sure. It's also a promotion for him, right?
Sure,
he's stepping up in job title. But also, like, yes, the Hornets have been kind of a disaster, but they've got some interesting young players. They've got another high draft pick this year. I believe they fell to 6th, unfortunately for them, in the lottery, but Brandon Miller, great rookie season. Mark Williams, very interesting young, talented center who did not play a lot last year due to injury.
Did not.
We'll see what happens with Miles Bridges and LaMelo Ball. But they've got some interesting players. They've got a couple of extra draft picks coming in from the Terry Rozier trade. I don't know. Like, if I'm a young coach, like, I kind of want to get in on the ground floor or something with young, potentially good players and see what we can create there. Sure. And obviously, when you can do it at a promotion level, he obviously passed up on a potential to get promoted to that level with the Bulls.
Sure.
But I don't know. Maybe that's an indication of what's to come in terms of people in this organization feeling like we kind of know how this plays out with the current core, and maybe we're starting to look for other opportunities elsewhere where there's a little bit more upside and potential for them as individuals.
Layman's terms, peace out.
Conversely to a team like Charlotte trying to bring in some young, fresh blood as far as their coaching staff, Josh Longstaff clearly has a solid resume, but young, ground floor kind of building going on in Charlotte. The other part of that reporting today, as far as the Bulls are concerned, is that Billy is now looking for a new lead assistant who has head coaching experience in the NBA, which I thought was interesting, and that was a new detail that we learned today. And it made me wonder who the hell that name is. Who's going to come be an assistant for this listless Bulls team that appears to be going nowhere and take a job as an assistant coach when they have head coaching on their resume?
My other thought, Matt, is Billy setting up his replacement?
Ooh.
That was my other thought when I heard that. Like, wanting somebody with head coaching experience.
Billy's looking for his own Tim Floyd.
Yeah, here's my out.
Or Arturas is looking for Billy's. I think that's probably more likely because...
Either one, but it's still surprising to me when I hear something like that coming from a coach. Not that you of course you want somebody with experience. I get all that. But with that being the focus and all the younger guys that you were going to bring up and promote leaving, you're like, let me get somebody with some head coaching experience. That it sounds like you just want to show them the ropes.
Yeah, it's surprising to me
so
because
I can get the hell out.
Billy's got head coaching experience for days.
Right.
Like, he is one of the more experienced head coaches in the league. To me, I'd be looking at, young up-and-coming offensive-minded coaches to supplement him. He's obviously a very successful defensive-minded coach, has been successful at every level on the defensive end. Let's bring in a little bit more kind of creative, dynamic, young up-and-coming offensive-minded people to be kind of on the cutting edge in that area. So it is surprising to me. I'm not really sure what the read between the lines moment is there, whether it's what you're suggesting or, who knows. But I do find it a little strange that he's looking for that kind of experience because he's the one that has that experience. That, you want to complement your skill set in other ways, not be duplicative.
Ooh.
Word of the day.
Clap that up right there. Man. What?
Fish in the comments saying,
standing ovation.
Do you think this means AK's running it back? I saw a lot of Bulls fans speculating about that on Twitter today after this news of, people, fleeing and maybe fleeing because they're sick of this song and dance AK's running, and maybe it's a sign that AK is getting ready to put that offer sheet in front of DeMar DeRozan for Continuity 4.0. Anthony, meanwhile, in the comments saying Adrian Griffin, ? Darvin Ham, ? Look, do I think Darvin Ham was maybe a bit of a fall guy for a poorly constructed Lakers roster? Sure. Yes. I also think that there were some legitimate flaws in the coaching I saw from him.
Correct.
And Adrian Griffin, Bulls coaching staff 2.0? We've already been here.
Yes,
we've already done this.
We have.
Sure, why not?
Why not? Why not? He knows where the parking spaces are and everything is. Why not? But he is a good coach, and I hate how it happened for him and to him because I don't know. I think that might have closed the door on head coaching opportunities for him in the future. When you get your first one, or one of your first one, and they take you out in the middle of the season, even though you're winning.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? 'Cause around the league, no matter how that looks around the league, I'm sure that's why they do that? What are you doing wrong? What's going on with you? Nothing changed for the Bucks. They still, were the same kind of team that they were previously. So what's up with you? And so I think going back to the assistant coaching ranks is kind of what it is for him, and that sucks ass. But if that gives him an opportunity to be a head coach again, I don't see how you kind of turn it down.
Yeah, I wonder how much their failure in the playoffs and their lack of, a good record after bringing in Doc Rivers does that make Adrian Griffin look a little bit better? At least he was winning games.
I hope so.
I feel like he could still get a chance. It's kind of like new car off the lot in that sense, but you don't have 250,000 miles on it yet. So
right.
maybe he gets another shot at head coach, but I think, he could be back to the assistant ranks. And look, I'll say this. I feel like I've said something similar before, but a big piece of head coaching is not just drawing up the plays or playing with the rotation and minutes allotments. It's being a figurehead for the organization, managing not only the personalities and individuals in the coaching staff and the player development staff, but all the players. It's a big management job. It's being in charge of a massive division in a big company, right? So it's not just about the X's and O's. And maybe that was the part that he wasn't good at. Maybe he was good at the X's and O's parts, but just wasn't as good of a people manager, or wasn't as good at like keeping on top of all the things that need to go on within a coaching department. So, like, I don't know the ins and outs of what happened with the Bucks. I don't know, who would have been a better replacement or who the Bulls should look to now for their assistant coaches, but that's also kind of just like something in favor of Billy, is that he's really good at that stuff, at managing all the people, keeping everybody kind of, and he got the guys to play for him. So whether or not he's like the most creative, I think he's very good at that stuff.
Yeah, I was literally about to say that if you're going to learn from anybody about being a people person and a player's coach, it's going to be Billy Donovan.
Gio in the comments saying Frank Vogel, question mark? Look, if I'm Frank Vogel, I am going to gleefully sit on my pile of cash guaranteed money after getting fired by the Suns.
Correct.
And wait for a head coaching job that I want that becomes available.
Yeah.
If I'm Frank Vogel, I'm not taking an assistant job at the Bulls.
What does he have, like 20 mil left or something like that? Vogel or something? Like,
I think it was a 5-year.
It was like 5-year 30-something, right?
30-something?
So
Yeah.
31.
He's got some checks. He's got some checks left, man. Only 1 year. And like you said, Adrian Griffin, too. He got checks left, too. But it feels different for Adrian Griffin than it does for Vogel. Like, Vogel feels like a more veteran, established. I got a ring, you know what I mean? All this and that. I can take my time. It's kind of like when Tibbs did it. You kind of take your time. Adrian Griffin, I feel, is still trying to get his feet wet, in the coaching.
That's what Budenholzer just did.
Correct. Correct. Absolutely right.
And then the other piece of news, and this isn't anything official, just some additional reporting on some rumors we'd heard going around that Marc Eversley, the Bulls GM, has maybe been a name other teams are watching who are looking for executives as outside hires. James Edwards III, the Athletic Detroit, shout out. We chatted with him earlier this season about a potential Bulls-Pistons Zach LaVine trade, if you recall. He and his colleague Shams Charania had a co-written piece that came out today talking about the Pistons in their search for their new president of basketball operations. That decision could come down in the next few weeks. Marc Eversley's name was listed among the Pelicans' Trajan Langdon and the Mavericks' Dennis Lindsey. They also made note of the fact that what is maybe holding up the Pistons making this new president of basketball ops hire is that the top of their list is a little name, Tim Connelly. Which, like, good for you, Pistons, if you can even get a meeting with Tim Connelly.
Yeah, shout out to you.
Or if you're willing to throw him a ridiculous check. Because right now, everyone in the NBA is saying, wow, look at this Nuggets-Timberwolves series. Yeah. Tim Connelly basically had a lot of hands in making both of these teams that are going at it right now. And what a lot of people are saying may as well be the Western Conference Finals.
Yeah.
But what if that's exactly why Tim Connelly wants to leave? He's got this situation that is getting nationally applauded by everyone because he's obviously been incredible at his job and put together two teams that are winning at the highest level. But this ownership fiasco with the Timberwolves, with Alex Rodriguez and Mark Lowry not being able to buy from Glenn Taylor, like, is there going to be now are they going to have to make cuts and not be able to bring everybody back because they're going to be a second apron team and they're a small market team, so they don't want to do that. Maybe this is an opportunity to, yes, get that bag, but also have a little bit more flexibility with the team that's clearly willing to spend money on a coach where they just paid Monty Williams $70 million on a head executive if they're willing to throw a huge bag at Tim Connelly, who I believe is under contract for just one more year. Maybe this is the last year. So I do think that could make some sense. Obviously, it's a little bit hasty just because they are still in the playoffs right now. They're still playing games, but it does make some sense. And if they do, it makes sense to me why that would be their first choice. And if they strike out or if they're not able to get an interview or whatever the case may be, then maybe they start to look towards those other options. But it doesn't surprise me at all that they're swinging for the fences.
Does it surprise you that Eversley's name keeps popping up in these things like this? Like for Charlotte, it popped up.
Portland last year.
You're right. Does it surprise you?
Pistons surprises me less because, as they pointed out in that column today, like the Pistons were looking at Eversley 4 years ago before they ultimately hired Troy Weaver.
Right.
So this one made perfect sense to me. Look, he's got a pretty solid resume. He's been working in NBA front offices for about 15 years.
True. After
starting his career working, for Nike in the corporate world. So, like, it seems like a lot of people in the NBA value Marc Eversley, his experience, his relationships with a lot of the players in the league. And I know, people in the comments, I think it was our friend Julia saying, AK's calling the shots. Eversley's not doing much around here. I don't know if that's entirely accurate, but I do think I agree with it. That's kind of how Bulls fans feel right now. Because I think that there is a laser hot focus from Bulls fans pointing at AK saying, what the hell are you going to do with this team? And then it's just like, oh yeah, and then also here's our GM Marc Eversley over here.
Right.
What are you doing?
Right. I don't know.
I think the Bulls are a very tight-knit group in the front office. I think they work closely on all this stuff. But AK does have the final say.
Yeah.
And that is what this job would represent for Eversley if he got it for the Detroit Pistons. That's the big job. That's one where you get to make the calls, where you get to execute on the vision. And I don't think it's necessarily to say, it could be that Mark disagrees with AK. Like, who knows whether that's the case, but this is a huge promotion. It's one of 30 jobs in the world that is the highest level. And so whether or not it has anything to do with the Bulls, like that's just aspirationally, it makes sense why he would be up for some of these jobs, and it makes sense why he'd be interested in them.
Okay.
We got to take our first break real quick, but Anthony saying, if Eversley leaves, who would be the options to be the new GM? Would Cherry bring back good old John Paxson, SMH? Wonder who would want to take this job under AK. Bring back John Paxson? Let's all remember that John Paxson never left. He's still here. He's in the building. He doesn't hold the VP of Basketball Ops title anymore, but it bugs the shit out of me that you still see him wandering around, lurking in the shadows at training camp in Nashville last fall. Bring back John Paxson? John Paxson's still cashing checks from this organization.
Like that, Carm? Like that?
That was for you, Carm.
Yeah, shout out.
You see him around the
I
building.
like the Mr. Rogers shoes you're putting on right now. They're smooth.
It's a beautiful day in the neighborhood, Dave. Oh, Grandpa Carm's just doing it. Wait, where's the cardigan? Where's the cardigan, Carm? Yeah, 93.
Glasses on his nose.
Cashing checks for life for one shot.
Shout out.
I see a lot of people in the comments talking about the Combine Day 1 and dropping a bunch of names.
Yeah.
We will dive into that. Also, that GOAT diehard only 2024 draft prospect database up and running.
It's not like
So
you just ate
sexy.
some delicious vegetarian meal.
I did.
Salmon burgers?
The fish
It's
sandwich.
not vegetarian. Man. Well, in Matt's world, it's
Fish meat
vegetarian.
is practically
Yes.
a vegetable.
You did say this. I'll accept it.
Well, okay, quick ad break, then we'll come back and dive into the NBA Draft Combine Day 1 from today and talk about some Bulls prospective picks at 11. While we are doing that, you know what to do, Bulls Nation. Hit that thumb if you are watching on YouTube, catch the replay on YouTube. Make sure you also subscribe to the CHGO Sports YouTube channel if you aren't already. Dave, who's first?
Main man, Ray.
Main man, Ray.
At CDJR. Because this May, our number one draft pick for all things Chryslers, Dodgers, Jeeps, and Rams has got to be Ray CDJR in Fox Lake. And right now, it's the season, which means not only is May the time to find the next vehicle, you can score some huge savings as well. For a limited time, lease the new 2024 Ram 1500 Bighorn Crew Cab for only $419 a month. You heard what I said. Or shop over 125 vehicles priced under $20,000. Troll Joe loves that. Let the amazing team at Ray CDJR help you land the perfect vehicle with the perfect price, because with Ray's Price Promise, the numbers you're hearing now are the same prices you can expect to shop in-store and online. He will not change it on you. That's because Ray's Price Promise means no price changing, no add-ons, and no hidden fees. What you see is what you get. Shout out to the Dramatics. Since they prioritize the affordability for their customers, hurry into Ray CDJR today and shop one of Chicago's largest inventories. Then drive home with more money in your pocket than you would expect. So if you're in the market for a new vehicle, then you have to check out the team at Ray, Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, and Ram, because they are the only team, and I said the only team, that we recommend. Visit them today on Route 12 in Fox Lake. For more information, visit Ray CDJR in Fox Lake or raycdjr.com. Serving the community since 1963.
CHGO Bulls today also brought to you by our friends at Prize Picks. Prize Picks is the largest daily fantasy sports platform in all of North America. That's a whole continent for you geography buffs out there.
Shout out.
They are the easiest and most exciting way to play DFS because it's just you against the numbers instead of battling thousands of other players, including pros and sharks and West Unseld Juniors. Just pick more than or less than on 2 to 6 different player stat projections and watch the winnings roll in. I just saw somebody throw his name in the comments. It's going back to the assistant coach conversation.
Not bad.
He
He always comes up.
Always comes up.
Regular name.
Especially when Big Dave is doing Gafford highlights. Also, don't forget, they have that great offer on the free Caitlin Clark Square for her WNBA regular season debut.
Yes.
Tomorrow,
Yes.
Tuesday, May 14th. If Caitlin Clark scores more than 0.5 points, that's a free square for you on Prize Picks. It is a timer on that square, so make sure you got to add that lineup and get it in before the timer ends, before her first game tips off. All we got, all we need, 1 point. Caitlin Clark, who, by the way, I think in her preseason games averaged like about 15 points per game.
About that, yeah, so it's safe to say.
Yeah. That's a freebie.
Might be a thing.
Take that freebie, make a few other fun picks if you are going to watch that Fever game and enjoy. You can also do the same thing with these NBA playoffs that we have rolling on tonight. We got 2 Game 4s. We got Celtics Heat.
Double dose.
And what's the other one tonight?
Celtics, Cavs.
Or Celtics, right. Celtics Cavs. Sorry, Heat are dead, thank God.
And then Mavs, OKC.
And then Mavs, OKC. Mavs taking a 2-1 lead in that series. Good for them.
Yes.
Go to prizepicks.com/CHGO and use promo code CHGO for a first-time deposit match up to $100 at prizepicks.com/CHGO, promo code CHGO. Pick more, pick less. It's that easy. All right, let's dive in to the draft combine. Day 1. Goat, you were there. What were the vibes? What was the scuttlebutt?
Flax.
Give us all the flexing.
And, what were some of the names that people were really excited to see there, excited to watch there? I know you posted a few different videos of some of the projected lottery picks getting some shots up. What was takeaway number 1, maybe takeaway number 2 from day 1 of the combine?
Yeah, I mean, I think Dalton Connect is going to be somebody who kind of creeps up draft boards. I know he's been mocked to the Bulls in that 11 area a couple of times, but people seem to really like him. I've seen a couple of tweets and just kind of hearing his name a little bit. Watch him. His shot is just super easy, super smooth, repeatable jump shot, just very comfortable shooting, and he's really bouncy, great athlete. I didn't really realize like how springy he was. We'll see what he is defensively and how much he can kind of move laterally, but I think he could be a name that kind of benefits. I was just talking with one of my friends, like we saw Jaime Jaquez last year at 22 be a senior that was drafted and really have an impact.
Yeah.
I think that guys like him and maybe like Tristan Da Silva, another I believe he was a senior from Colorado, those kind of names like rise up a little bit in a draft where there's a lot of uncertainty, a lot of flawed players and interesting players, but then you have a couple of like safer plug and play options who are more college level veterans. I think Connect and Da Silva could be guys like that who kind of slide up the draft a little bit. And, you know, typically they might be falling because of their age and because of the fact that they've just played in college so long. Like if you're 23, of course you should dominate against 17, 18-year-olds.
Yeah.
But so I could see that name sliding up draft boards. I watched a lot of Reed Shepherd, really intrigued by him. Really nice jump shot, very smooth, kind of a lower like arc. It's not like a super high arcing shot. So he like missed back iron a couple of times, but he really gets like his feet set. He gets into his shot quickly, and it's really repeatable, fluid motion. So I liked him, and he actually had the highest vertical leap at 42 inches of anybody at the combine today. So that was kind of surprising.
Just wild.
He's a smaller guard. The questions are like, is he going to get targeted defensively? Is he somebody that can be a point guard, or is he not kind of creative enough and shifty enough on the ball? If he can't be a point guard, is 6'1.5" too small to be your off guard? What kind of situation works best for him? He's really good in kind of like a Caruso off-ball defensive mold. He's a playmaker. He creates a ton of havoc and generates a lot of steals and blocks and gets out in transition. Shot 52% in college. He's the best shooter in the draft. So he's somebody who I think is really interesting, but it's going to take the right fit around him to really maximize his skills. And then Cody Williams I saw for a bit as well. He actually does. I saw a lot of people comment this. he does kind of remind me of Patrick in the sense that he gets his shot up very slowly. And it was a little bit like mechanical for me, a little bit inconsistent in terms of his form.
Okay.
He made it at an okay clip, super long, super lanky, great athlete, but like, can he, like, not to make this kind of extreme comparison, but like, it's going to be, I think, similar to Dalen in the sense that like, if he can't generate closeouts, is he going to be able to get downhill and get to the rim and put that passing and that vision, that finishing on display? He shot 41% in college. Obviously, that's a great number, but it was on super low volume. Can he be somebody that really forces defenses to close out to him so that he can get into the lane? I think that's going to be the question. But he's like NBA sized. I mean, it's like 6'8", 6'9", really long, really athletic, really fast, good vision. He's definitely an interesting prospect.
Okay. I had 2 questions, but I'm going to leave that one because I think I need to go to this one because this is a name that keeps being brought up among Bulls Nation, and that's Zach Edey.
Yeah.
So you had a chance to look at him and watch him.
Just get this over with.
Exactly. Please tell me what you think, what you thought about him. Did anything sway you? Because they saw him shooting 3-point shots and all those things. So like maybe he could do that. Do you feel he's moving up the draft board after what you saw, or kind of will be where he's projected to be?
Really interesting player. I'm just looking up the measurements right now. I believe he measured 7'3"
yes.
and 3/4.
No shoes.
With no shoes on. So that's solid 7'5" on the court. 7'10" and a quarter wingspan.
Was it 299 the weight?
299 the
Okay.
weight. 30s. What was his vertical? 31.5. He moved well in terms of his ability, like in the shuttle run and the 3/4 sprint. So he was, I think, moving a little bit. And that was kind of the big question about him defensively. Can you withstand playing a drop-only cover defense?
Somebody on Twitter today compared his running to Happy Gilmore's boss.
Dude, I was crying laughing when I saw that.
I believe that's Mr. Gilmore's.
I fell out.
He was kind of running like this.
I fell out when I saw that, dog. It was so funny.
He's obviously like a super tantalizing player because you've seen him produce at a very high level. The question is, like, does that translate to the NBA floor?
Sure.
He moved better than I thought, so maybe that kind of vaults him up a little bit. I think 11's too high for him. And there's like 4 or 5 other centers that are going to be kind of in that area, from Filipowski at Duke, Yves Missy, Kel'el Ware, and then one more. I'm just scrolling through my thing. Ron Holland, I think, could be an option. There's a lot of decent center kind of backup types, and even in the second round, like Adem Bona, I think is going to be kind of a good lob catching, defensive minded threat. Like, do you want to use this asset on a guy like that? Yes, he can shoot a little bit. Yes, he can score in the post. Yes, he can block some shots. Yes, he's a big body. Does he offer you enough versatility? Can you play through him as a facilitator, as a passer? Can he run pick and rolls and roll to the basket hard and catch lobs? Or is he going to be like a back to the basket block guy the way that he was in college? And if so, like, we know in the NBA, that's not really how they like to play anymore. So I think he'll probably be closer to like in the 20s. But that's moving up quite a bit from like the 40s where he was, before the tournament in a lot of draft boards. So I think he is rising. I think 11's too early for him. But like we've been talking about, like this draft, I don't think anybody is really that excited about any of these guys. So what does that mean? There could be opportunity to jump back into the first round at a later spot and maybe get in for a guy like Edey or one of these other centers that I mentioned to be your backup, because it does seem like you might be losing Drummond at this point.
Brazil popular in the comments saying Edey is slower than Vooch. That is a hard test. Because a couple of these names have already come up, let's shout out Robert Crane is in the comments who had a super chat saying, fellas, love the show. Did my draft research last night. Fell on 2 names, Kel'el Ware and Cody Williams. Love when Big Dave says the GOAT. So I know that Kel'el Ware is another hot name for Bulls fans who are hoping for a big in this draft class that seems to have a lot of options in the front court. And as opposed to Edey, who's a bit more of like a plotting big, obviously rim protection and post-scoring threat. Kel'el Ware has a bit more bounce. He's like lean, he's long, 7, and he's like measured. I don't know if he measured differently, but before the combine he's listed as 7 feet. But like a thin, wiry 7 feet. I think he's 210 is what you have him at in your draft database, Will.
That's thin.
But it's I think also for whatever reason, like there's a lot of Bulls fan crossover with Hoosiers fans, like IU basketball. They're always looking for those prospects coming out of IU.
For sure.
His tape is enticing. I will say that.
What do you find enticing about it?
Motor, bounce. I like this Bulls team just needs some
life.
Yes.
I got you.
And I see that in him. But now that we know the Bulls are in 11, they didn't fall, which is nice. They didn't jump. Oh, well. But, I mean, these two, bigs, for example, that we're talking about, whether it be Zach Edey or Kel'el Ware, are projected most mocks to be maybe late teens, early 20s. So then the question is, are you willing, if you're in AK's shoes as a Bulls fan, to maybe reach to get the big that you think you really want, whether it's them or a different one? We got to add size to this team. We got to plan for the losing Drummond in free agency, post Vooch years, part of this plan.
Correct.
Are you reaching on a guy? Because I see people in the comments saying, for the love of God, no more guards, draft a big. Yeah. And I understand Bulls fans who feel that way coming into this draft class, and there's a lot of bigs to choose from. But do you reach?
Do you?
So I strongly disagree with the don't draft a guard thing. I think you draft.
Okay.
I don't think the Bulls are in a position where they can just say, like, we're good here. Like, they won 39 games. Kobe and Io had a great season, but, like, if they were franchise-changing players that were, like, good enough to be, like, starters or, like, second, third, fourth best players on championship teams, like, this team would have made the playoffs. Sure. I think it's kind of that simple. So, to me, if you feel really convicted about a guard at 11 who, like, fell to you or who you believe can be that star player, like, why not go get him? Because you need star players. You need shot creation. I think that was one of the big things that we learned this year was, aside from DeMar, there was not a lot of good shot creation.
Correct.
Kobe obviously improved in that area.
He did.
Io did as well. Mm-hmm. But I don't think they have somebody who can, like, take the torch from DeMar and be the best player on a team that gets to the playoffs. Mm-hmm. And so that's a low bar, but they can't even clear it. So I think they still need to be focused on that, and, like, that needs to be the priority. And so if that comes in the form of a 6'3" guard, like, yeah, I'll take a chance. But to answer the question about Kel'el Ware, super tantalizing skills. He was, I believe, 6'11" and 3/4 without shoes. 7'4" wingspan.
That's a legit 7-footer.
I mean, super fast, super bouncy. I think there were some questions about, like, his motor. So this was his sophomore year at Indiana. He played, like, a lot more aggressively with a lot more energy and motor this year. His freshman year at Oregon, that was a big question about him. So does that translate? Is that something you can rely on? He shot the 3 ball okay. I think he was, like, 10 of 25 at the star drill, which is, like, you start at the top of the key, then you run to the corner and shoot a 3, then you do opposite wing, corner, top of the key, and then you kind of continue on and go into, like, a star formation with shooting 3s, and you take 25 shots. He made 10, which was, like, 15th among the players that shot today.
Respectable.
40%, pretty good.
Small sample size, but
I think he has some potential to be a shooter. And I can just pull it up here in my draft database. Kel'el Ware, he shot 42% on 3s in college with a 12.5 3-point attempt rate. So he shot a little bit more than guys like Donovan Clingan, a little bit less than Filipowski. But the question, I think, is he going to be consistent enough to be, like, a high-level rim roller, rim protector guy who also can shoot? Like, the skills are there, but is he going to be consistent enough? Is he going to be reliable enough? Because there were kind of those questions about his motor. To me, again, I would take a swing on that kind of talent and those kind of tools, but I understand why he might slide. And I think I heard on one podcast I was listening to, like, from just, like, a tools standpoint, he's probably in the, like, late teens area, maybe early 20s, but as, like, a real prospect with how teams are viewing him, it could be, like, late first, early second. So, again, it could be an opportunity to get back into the draft or to even move down in the draft and pick up an asset in doing so. And now you pick this guy up. But at the end of the day, like, the cap hit for whoever the Bulls take at 11 is, like, just over $5 million. So would you rather draft a backup center for $5 million or would you rather re-sign Drummond at the vet minimum for $2.8 million or whatever it is, and then use that $5 million draft pick on a player with a little bit more upside. Like, that would be my preference. I wouldn't be drafting for a backup here.
I think the issue with, and it's no fault of fans, but the issue with them is the Bulls have one shot at this right now. And that's it. And that's that pick. That's it. That's all they see. There's no second round pick for them. And they want to get someone where they see the actual true need at. And that's a normal thought.
Yeah.
It was when you have one shot at something, you got a high pick.
One opportunity.
Where am I? Yeah. Mom spaghetti. But that's where their mind is at. Like, we know we are bare in the cupboards as far as size is concerned, as far as rim protection is concerned, and it's been a concern as long as three-point shooting has been a concern for this team. So you have a chance to actually do something about that with the one shot that you have, instead of getting a guard where they're seeing where it's actually might be a log jam there.
1,000%.
So that's kind of where the mindset is, which I don't fault Bulls fans for having, because, again, the Bulls put themselves in this position where fans have to think this way.
I will say this, because I agree with that. Like, that's as the roster is currently constructed.
Sure.
Right.
AK said this, not me. There needs to be changes. Right? So does that mean DeMar is gone? If so, yeah, you need a shot creator.
Yeah.
If DeMar is back but Zach is gone, yeah, you need shooting. If Drummond is back, then maybe you don't need a backup big. If he's gone, then you definitely do. Yeah. But you can't answer all those questions with one pick, 11th overall. And I think ultimately there's going to have to be a lot of movement with this roster, a lot of turnover. And that's why, to me, I'm taking the best player available, because that can help inform some of the other decisions you have to make, as opposed to, I'm just going to draft my backup center and not worry about it.
Yeah, I think that is a good point. Maybe some Bulls fans are overlooking. Like, hey, we don't know yet if this draft pick is supposed to come in and be a piece on a team that is shifting towards a younger core of players and a fresh start, or someone that maybe can come in and contribute on a team that might move one of these pieces but is going to remain mostly intact and try to be competitive again.
Right.
And that might have, a sway one way or the other on what kind of player they're looking for. Because people in the comments saying, Trick Daddy Dexter saying, this is a rebuild, best player available. We don't know yet for sure that it's a rebuild.
It for sure is a rebuild. They just don't know it yet.
We don't know that it is a rebuild. I think we all agree it should be a rebuild.
Yes.
I think it already is.
So best player available, that's what I said. I agree with that take for sure.
Depends on how we view it or how they view the actual rebuild is what you're saying.
Yeah. Are you rebuilding and trying to collect as many assets as you can and really tank for the bottom? Or are you rebuilding and letting your older players kind of slowly pass the torch to some of your younger players while you slowly accumulate assets?
If it involves signing DeMar to a multi-year deal above $80 million, that is not a rebuild. Travis in the comments saying they need star players. Trick Daddy saying swing for potential. Reagan saying, please, just best player available. Why reach in a bad class? Seems like a recipe for disaster. All right, we got to take our second ad break. We will come back and dive into more of these names. And if you can, Joe, we can maybe even pull it up and give y'all a little sneak preview. For those of you who aren't diehards and have dived into it already, all of the info and great stuff you can find on the Goats Draft database on our ALLCITY website right now. Because, whoo! Talk about thorough.
Went in, ladies and gents.
Went in. While we are sharing these words from our sponsors, you know what to do. Hit that thumbs up button if you didn't do it the first time around. Big Dave, who's next?
Joey, what time is it? Game 2. Oh, that's how you do it. Behind the back with the smooth lay. He was ready for it.
Hello.
Joey. Oh, man. The work Joey has done over the year, it's impressive to me. I'm impressed. Game Time is the authorized ticket marketplace of the NBA, which makes getting playoff tickets even faster and easier. Prices on the Game Time app actually go down the closer it gets to tip off with killer last-minute deals, all-in prices, views from your seat, and their lowest price guarantee. Game Time takes the guesswork out of buying those tickets. Ladies and gentlemen, those last-minute deals, you can save up to 60% off buying last minute for sports, concert, comedy, theater, you name it, 60% off. They got it. The flash deals, you can save even more with exclusive in-app deals on select seats ahead of the game or the event. They got the zone deals where you can save even more because you choose that section, and Game Time will go on and do that select in. And, of course, that lowest price guarantee or Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference just because they care about you. So take the guesswork out of buying those NBA tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use that code CHGO. Get yourself $20 off your first purchase. That's CHGO. Get yourself $20 off your first purchase. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, though, is price guaranteed because we'll leave. What time is it?
Game time. Woo!
Shout out to Travis in the comments who said game time. Who? Shout out to Larry Strickland, our guy, who said turn supply. The people know what's up, Dave.
They know, man, and I appreciate y'all.
They know what's up. They also know that our show is brought to you by our friends at Coors Light.
Segway pack.
Between work, social media, the Bulls not winning the draft lottery, and the choices and obstacles life throw our way, it's no wonder why we can be worked up sometimes. Coors Light celebrates rising above those moments and choosing to have a chill mindset. Don't let the little stuff get you down. Don't let the little stuff, real mustardy shit, don't let it bother you. No. Choose a chill mindset. Why not turn to rained out barbecue or a rained out CHGO softball season premiere like today?
Yes.
Condolences to our friends Joey and Goat,
Yeah.
who don't get to play softball today.
Yes.
We're going to turn it into a moment to choose chill.
That's it.
And then, after you've chosen to have a chill mindset for the rest of your day, crack a Coors Light. It's mountain cold refreshment, y'all. When the mountains turn blue, it's as cold as the Rockies, just like these cool Coors Light cups show you right here. Also, the same feature exists on them bottles and them cans. Coors Light is cold lager, cold filtered, and cold packaged for a smoother finish. When you embrace a chill mindset, it's a good time to choose chill. And then, choose Coors Light. When I got home from the office yesterday after our draft lottery show, and I was like, Bulls didn't jump up.
Okay.
Son of a bee sting.
Yes, sir.
Kind of ticked. I was like, you know what?
Chill.
That's earlier today's problem.
Summer
I'm not going to
pet.
let it affect me. I'm going to choose chill.
That's right.
And damn right. Summer Pet came out. Tank top came out. Went up to my rooftop with my Birks. Looked at that beautiful Chicago skyline. Looked at the sun shining. I cracked gold Coors Light. So simple.
Sounds amazing.
Make the most out of your times when you choose to chill. Choose Coors Light. Get Coors Light delivered straight to your door with Instacart. That's right. Beer delivery, Coors Light delivery to your door with Instacart. You don't even need to get up off the couch when you're watching these NBA playoff games tonight. Just go to CoorsLight.com/CHGO basketball. That's CoorsLight.com/CHGO basketball. Celebrate responsibly. Coors Brewing Company, Golden, Colorado. All right, guys. Let's keep talking combine. Let's keep talking draft picks. Let's keep talking Bulls picking at 11.
Goat was there.
Joe, do you have the capability to bring up the GOAT's database, if you will? Those of you who aren't CHGO diehards yet,
Take that for the data.
take that for data. Shout out Dave Fizdale. Maybe this will entice you. A little sneak peek at the draft database from GOAT. So basically, we've got two amazing features here that GOAT has built in. There's the big board, which features players' bio information. So, where they played, whether collegiately or professionally overseas, what type of player they are, archetype, ball handlers, slashers, wings, bigs, off-guard shooters, what age they are when they're going to be drafted, their height, their weight, wingspan and verts that'll get filled in now as we have gone through the combine, and then, my God, the stats. We've got box stats per 75 possessions. We've got shooting splits. We've got efficiency on shooting. We've got rebounding percentages. We've got offensive usage percentages. We've got defensive stats like steal percentage and block percentage, and then even some advanced metrics like PER, box plus minus on both ends of the floor.
Look at his brain.
Stats on stats on stats.
What the hell is wrong with you?
I like being able to compare different guys' stats against one another, and I think what I'll do at some point is do separate pages for each position, so you can look at the centers. How did the centers stack up as shooters, as 3-point shooters?
Yes, sir.
How often are they shooting threes? And for the guards, who's a good rebounding guard? Who's really efficient? Who turns the ball over more? So I just like being able to see this stuff all in one place, and I figured if I liked it, some other people might too. So
Shit.
here we are.
I appreciate that.
We are. So in addition to the big board with all that information for each prospect, including even going deep into round 2, yeah, we got it.
I'm not logged in, and we can see it because I had to log into my diehard account.
Yeah. Joey, you're a diehard. Congratulations.
Congratulations, Joey.
So there's the draft big board with all those deets that I just laid through, and you can just easily scroll through them all. Even the efficiency on all of these different advanced stats are color coded, as you can see there, as Joey has it pulled up.
And they're organized against each other in columns. So like, obviously red is the lower end of the spectrum, green is the higher end of the spectrum.
Right.
But you can see like for Rob Dillingham, for example, he scores a lot compared to all these other people, whereas, but like how much is Dalton Connect's 30 points? Like it's just a little bit easier to tell like where they are compared to these other people in each stat.
Right. Look at some of the efficiency there. And then if you scroll past the big board in Goat's draft database, you will find that composite mock draft. And so what you've done there, Goat, is basically take mock drafts from all kinds of different NBA media outlets and accounts. We've got ESPN, we've got Bleacher Report, we've got Ringer, Tankathon, SB Nation, shout out to our guy Ricky, No Ceilings, Sam Viceni, John Hollinger, Yahoo Sports, all have done mock drafts for the NBA draft, and you have basically averaged out where they have all of these prospects going and created your own composite list.
Exactly, and I think that is really valuable, especially in this draft where there's so much variance between these guys. I mean, Zachary Risachet was top of the board for most of this season from ESPN, but a lot of other people have him a little bit lower.
Yeah.
And a lot
like
of people
Hollinger has him at 13 in his latest.
Exactly.
Meanwhile,
So
Ron Holland is more sort of like back end of the top 10, and Hollinger has him at 1. Hollinger's weird, but
yeah, but I think it just gives you kind of an idea of like not to get sucked into groupthink, but also just kind of an average of what everybody kind of expects from these individuals. And I'll also say that like there's a difference between a big board and a mock draft. The mock draft is obviously where you're expecting guys to go or where you're predicting guys will go, whereas a big board is like how you personally rank those players. And so this is based on mock drafts, not based on my evaluation of these guys. But yeah, it's interesting to see like the variance for Topic is from 7 to 2. Reed Shepard, another guy we just talked about, he could go anywhere from 3 to 9. And so it's just kind of interesting to kind of get a sense of where these guys go. And you see when you look at that, like 3 different guys, our average draft spot is 6.3.
yeah.
You also have a 5.8 and a 7.8. So like there's just so much variance that could happen with these. And I just think it's helpful to kind of see generally what people think.
Just because you mentioned Topic, it was on top of my mind, and most people expect him to go top 5, maybe even top 3, not really in the Bulls area. But he sustained an injury in a game that he was playing earlier today and had to be helped off the court. Could mean, depending on the severity and the diagnosis of what that injury was, and he's been dealing with other injuries leading up to this draft, that could be someone who falls on draft night.
Can I ask a question here?
Yeah.
It's more of a general question,
Wait,
but
let me ask him a real quick one.
Sure.
How often will this be changing?
So the stats are pretty much locked in. Guys who are playing in Europe right now, their seasons are still underway. So like Topic, Risachet, who else? Saloon. Those guys, their stats might update over the next couple of weeks. But the big boards, those will be like people will release new big boards every week.
Sure.
And so I'll try to keep on top of those as much as I can as soon as they come out. But at the very least, I'll update it every week but it'll depend on whether these other outlets are producing mock drafts, right? I'm not going to, there's no new mock drafts, then there won't be a new update, but I'll just try to be as quick to that as possible.
All right. Thank you. Go ahead, Joe.
so what Matt said about Topic. Will, I pose this to you mostly just, what you think, but I'm curious what you guys would think about the idea of this. I don't know exactly what the value associated with each pick is, especially in this sort of weaker draft. Do you think there's a scenario in which the Bulls get aggressive and move up for a guy they like?
I think that's definitely a possibility. I think generally speaking, people might think that's a bad value proposition in this draft because this draft is not considered to be strong. But if you have good scouting and you believe in your scouting and you like a guy, it could be the cheapest time to do that compared to other years, right? Like there was no way any team was moving up into the top pick last year, but that top pick might be available this year. Yeah. So if you really like Alex Sarr and you want to go get him, this could be a chance to get up at the top. Like we've already heard rumors that the Hawks might be shopping that. Maybe it's Topic that they really like or whoever it may be. This could be a chance to do that. And you get a potentially very good player on a very small contract, all things considered. So I'm not saying I think that will happen, but I think it's a possibility just because that option is available compared to other years when really that just wouldn't happen.
I did want to ask you because his name was just mentioned, but Alex Sarr, you did get a chance because he was there also. What did you see from him today?
He's really awesome. I mean, he's not Wembanyama. I know he's a tall Frenchman, but like the shot I think is going to be the swing for him. But defensively, he can really move his feet. He's fast. He's really mobile. Incredible shot blocker at the rim. Can slide over, can switch. I mean, you could just do everything with him.
He had a block percentage of 8.0 playing in Perth.
Jesus.
God damn.
He was awesome. And he shot the ball well today. He's got a smooth release. He could be kind of like a unicorn offensively in terms of his ability to like get to the basket on like rim rolls and catching lobs and then also stepping out and shooting threes. He does like to face up a little bit and kind of score from the elbow area. Got like a little sidestep jumper. Like he's very fluid, very skilled player. It's very raw right now, but like you can see that there's a good player there. And then defensively, I think he's going to be his defensive ability right now is probably the best tool or the best attribute of any player in this draft. And that's why I think he ultimately goes number one. And he's gonna be a very solid player. I don't think he's going to be like Wemby, but I think he could be along the lines of a Jaren Jackson or an Evan Mobley, just in the sense that he's probably going to start at the 4, be a rim protector. The shot is going to be the big question, but can he pass a little bit? Can he move and switch defensively? I think all that stuff's on the table. He's not as polished. I don't think he's got quite as much upside as either of those guys. Like if the draft was Wemby, Jaren, Mobley, and Sarr, he'd probably go last out of that group. So it's not like a surefire, superstar in the making, but I think the potential there is definitely the most interesting to me. I would have him number 1 on my board.
There it is.
Robert threw us another super chat saying, and it's kind of what we've been chatting about. Question for Will. I heard Woj say the 3rd pick is available. You think we could create something to move up and also keep the 11th? I mean, I don't see a scenario where you can move up while not giving up the 11th.
I mean, maybe the Houston Rockets really love Zach LaVine.
That's where I was going, Will. Look at you. Because, obviously we have plenty of time between now and draft day, June 26th or 7th or whatever next month to talk about all these prospects. I think Bulls fans are fair to wonder if now is finally the time, after all the talk of years, Zach's on the trade market, and then even this season, Zach admitting himself, I told them, hey, if you want to trade me, trade me. I'm open to a trade. I think people are feeling like Zach and the Bulls are ready for this divorce to be finalized. Is draft night the night to make that happen? And is it something where the Bulls can, make 2 good things happen for themselves in one night, which is get off of Zach's contract, give him a new destination he wants to go, and also improve your draft stock? That to me, that seems a bit lofty of a goal. And I don't know if I feel like they are capable of doing all of that at once, as opposed to separating them and being like, all right, well, here's who we like in this draft. Here's who's on our board. Here's who's available at 11. Pick that. Okay, now let's deal with trading Zach. And maybe that's just my, cynical lack of faith in this front office to handle both of those things at once on draft night.
No, you're not. You're not wrong. We've seen what's going on. As far as your lack of faith in what they can do properly, I get it. I didn't think of that till now that you're saying it, because and tell me if it makes sense though, Will. Like, it feels like just in this draft, since it's such a weak draft, everybody keeps telling me that teams will be more willing to maybe give that up for a player that's already established. So it feels like if you're like Matt is saying, if it's at any time that you can actually get off of Zach and trade Zach, to a team like Houston, who is not happy with the fact that they picked up the number 3 pick at all, and they probably might not even be looking at anybody like that. Why not get somebody that's already established that can improve your team and then give a pick back in a draft that's considered to not be a great one?
Yeah, I think it's definitely a possibility. I agree with what you're saying, that draft picks might be gettable this year in terms of teams being willing to move down or out in this draft. I don't know what that would cost compared to other years. I don't know if the Rockets are actually interested in Zach. They've got Jalen Green, who's a similar player and obviously much cheaper and much younger. So that was just kind of a shot in the dark, but
Much better.
Keep shooting.
So I think one thing that the Bulls could do is like, I don't know how the Marc Eversley thing factors into the Pistons. So let's just put that aside for a second.
Right. Okay.
Like, could the Bulls go Zach and 11 for 5 and Isaiah Stewart? You guys take off some money. We move up in the draft. You still keep a draft pick, but you also get an all-star scorer.
Right.
Like, does that kind of work for both teams where the Bulls accomplish their goal of getting off of a ton of money? They also can sell to the fan base, look, we got the 5th pick in the draft for Zach LaVine.
Yeah.
And also a backup center, or maybe the center of the future in Isaiah Stewart. That's the kind of deal where I think both teams could be into it. Obviously, like I said, depends on who takes over decision-making with Detroit. Like, maybe they want to go the complete opposite direction. That was obviously, like, Troy Weaver was the one who was interested in Zach at that time, and he's not going to be the head decision-maker anymore. So who knows if that's still on the table. But I think that kind of deal could accomplish all those goals that we're talking about in terms of freeing up cap space, getting a little bit younger, getting some new players in there, and giving yourself a bit of a swing on upside.
Yeah.
Obviously, you're basically trading Zach for a pick swap at that point, so it's not like the best value deal ever. But I could see that kind of thing becoming an option or becoming interesting to teams. But I'll say this, and I've said it before, like, I do not think Zach is going to be the first domino to fall. Maybe teams like have a handshake deal with the Bulls in place for, if we don't get Paul George, we can pull this deal with you guys and get Zach.
Right.
But I think it's going to be really tough to get something done with Zach in general. Moving that kind of money is hard to do on draft night when you have 5 minutes to make a pick. It's probably a little bit easier to do it during the summer and during the free agency period. But to me, it strikes me as something that's going to have to happen after free agency, when teams kind of know who they are and what they've gotten or what they've missed out on.
Right.
And like we've said before, the Bulls are going to have to make decisions on Patrick and DeMar before that happens.
Yes.
So are you going to get yourself stuck 11, 15, $20 million into the luxury tax and then have to attach multiple picks to get off of Zach? Or are you going to try to get DeMar and Patrick cheaper? Or are you going to try to just let them walk or sign and trade them? Like, I don't think Zach is, as much as they want to and prefer Zach to be the first domino, I just have a hard time believing that for now.
Yeah. Andrew says, Will, don't tease us with trades that make sense.
Zach and 11 for 5 and filler. I'm running to.
Oh my
Detroit.
God, I'm swimming.
But like,
saddle.
I can't say yes to that fast enough.
Yeah, I think it'd be a great trade, and I think it makes sense for both teams.
Yeah.
Like, I think those kinds of trades might be interesting to the Bulls, where the optics of it are we move up in the draft and we get a young player and we create some cap space. It's kind of a similar trade to the one that the Jimmy Butler trade. They got a pick and 2 young players, and they traded up in the draft. They gave up their pick. So I think that'd be a huge win for, honestly, both teams, but it just depends on whoever is now going to be the decision maker in Detroit. Is that the direction they want to go?
Just to acknowledge this once and then move on, and hopefully we'll never acknowledge it again. Sure. Bowie in the comments said, just take Bronny James and LeBron will follow his son to Chicago. Bowie, if you were joking, haha, funny joke. If you were not joking, seek help. Bronny James combine measurements, by the way, came out today as well.
Hit me.
Height without shoes, 6'1.5".
Oh, God.
Weight, 210.
Oh, Jesus.
Wingspan, 6'7".
It is a travesty if he gets drafted, but he's going to get drafted.
I will say this.
Not by the Bulls.
Yeah.
There were some rumors today about some of the height combine numbers coming out as not being accurate.
I saw that too.
I don't have any confirmation on that, so I'm not sure. But like Stephon Castle measured 6'2". I think everybody thought he was like 6'6".
Mixed up with Carter, I believe.
Yeah. So I don't know. We'll have to do some more digging on that. But Bronny could also be a little bit taller than that. That's my point.
6'1.5" sounds accurate.
Yeah, it does.
From what I've seen when Bronny James stands next to other basketball players who are taller than 6'1".
But the wingspan. What's his leg span?
All 6'7" of it.
What's the leg span?
4'7". The other thing that people I saw in the comments pointing out, not just, hey, maybe the Zach LaVine trade gets figured out as sort of built into a draft night trade, is Caruso.
Yes.
Yes. people saying like, "Hey, Caruso, Lars, shout out to Lars, saying Caruso fits this current Rockets team. Maybe Caruso and something else gets you that number 3 pick." Steven Dickerson asking, could the Bulls give Caruso for the 3rd pick? I think the 3rd overall is a little rich when you're talking about getting draft capital back for Caruso. But I don't know. What do you think, Will?
I mean, like, it's so tough. This draft. I mean, I've heard people say like this draft is basically like number 1 would be number 7 in most years.
Yeah.
So like in that sense, would 3 be 10, and is 10 for Caruso make sense? Like kind of. I'm obviously like very high on Caruso and his defensive capabilities, just in and of itself. But then when you factor in the fact that he's making $9 million and he's probably realistically like a $25 million a year type of player, just in terms of his impact, like that's a really exciting piece to add for a team that wants to be better.
Sure.
So I could see the Bulls getting a lot for him. We could have seen that happen at the trade deadline or last summer or the trade deadline before that. But I don't know exactly what that trade will be or even if the Bulls will do it. Like the first thing that they're going to try to do after that is find Caruso's replacement. So I
have it.
I understand why they want to keep him, but I think you could get a lot for him. I don't know about number 3, but like this is the time to do it. So it's really like their last chance.
I always right there. We're done. Move on.
Right there.
It's right there. But yes, that is very intriguing though. As far as Caruso and Zach LaVine, that actually gives me a little bit of hope because that makes sense. It makes sense that could happen that way.
Oh my. People talking more about Bronny and LeBron.
He's not talking.
The Billy haters saying, well, hey, if LeBron comes because he follows Bronny here, that means Billy's gone halfway through the season because LeBron will get him fired. I love this puzzle piecing assembly that we're doing right now.
Man, how did it come back around?
The Bulls
Billy,
are not.
It always does, Dave.
Yeah, that's impressive.
The Bulls drafted Bronny James, and it's Billy's fault. The Bulls got LeBron James, and it's Billy's fault.
Get out of here.
A little bit of outside NBA news, but update from Woj.
Okay.
Donovan Mitchell out tonight
Oh,
with a left calf strain.
No,
right.
no D Mitch for game 4.
and we're done here.
And Celtics. Celtics up 3-1.
And that's
Going once,
it.
going twice.
Yeah, that's about it.
I mean,
Wow.
dude, credit to the Cavs for that convincing win in game 2.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I mean,
Right.
Boston playing to the height of their capability, much better team. Also, I did see Kristaps getting a little
Getting
shots
shots
up, a little bit more movement in
Yeah.
their morning shoot-around today.
Yeah.
Saw that in my Twitter feed this morning. So we shall see.
He could rest. He'll be
Yeah, exactly.
that must really be bothering him though for him to sit out.
Must
Donovan
be.
Mitchell
Must
is
be.
a dog, man. Oh man.
Before we get out of here, I did see we had one more super chat from our guy Football. So you have Candy. We appreciate you, buddy. Saying, said this before, guys. Mayberry's report was damning. They really see no issues because fans are going to games. Please stop going. If they run it back, they're a lottery team anyway. Yeah. It's our good old reliable Football CF Candy comment about how Bulls fans need to stop going to games. I mean, you know how I feel. I'm with you, buddy, but like, we get it. Yes, Uncle Remus. I know the catfish are huge.
Joey doesn't.
What?
Joey's like,
You don't get that reference, Joe?
No.
It's an underappreciated Adam Sandler classic. Big Daddy,
Uncle Remus.
Uncle Remus.
Who does he say that to? The homeless guy?
No, he's trying to disguise who he's talking to on the phone, and it's like I can't remember who he's actually talking to. John Stewart, maybe, but he doesn't want his fiance to know that he's talking to him. I don't know.
Good movie.
It's a great line. It's just always stuck with me for the rest of the time.
Solid movie.
Who's Uncle Remus? Why is he talking about catfish?
solid movie. Uncle
Hip Hop
Remus.
Anonymous. I mean, yeah, that's the other one.
I need to school you on Uncle Remus though, Joe.
Ooh.
That's not the time.
You need to school me on what?
Uncle Remus.
Okay, fair enough.
Relax.
Uncle Ruckus.
Did you watch Harry and the Hendersons yet, Joe?
Not yet.
God, come on.
He's got so much other work to do.
What about you, Goat?
book reports?
Still
No?
no. Been typing
Doing
away
charts.
on these
Yeah, he's
little
doing
spreadsheets.
charts.
Yeah, that's fair.
He's literally doing homework.
He's doing homework.
He's literally doing homework.
I gotta
That
dive.
guy,
I gotta dive into this goat homework as my own homework.
Yeah.
Thank you for doing all the
Thank you,
organizing.
man. Yeah, seriously.
It's gonna make my draft research way easier.
As I keep
Goat
telling
did all the
you.
legwork.
So I keep telling you guys out there, GOAT makes you smarter. He will make you a smarter basketball fan. Diehards. They are smarter for reading what GOAT is doing.
The latest and best reason to
that.
sign up to become a Chicago CHGO diehard if you aren't already. It's literally pennies a day to become a CHGO diehard with all of those perks we tell you about all the time. The discounts when you shop at that merch locker, the free shirt when you sign up, the discounts at all of our fun events and parties and tailgates, all that stuff. Plus, the best of the best when it comes to our content from our credentialed reporters, including this guy right here, whose draft database that we gave you just a little sneak peek at on today's show. The big board, all of the stats, the rankings, the composite mock draft. It's all there for you. Just sign up to become a diehard. You know you want to anyway.
Yeah, you do.
That is it for today. We are out of time. We'll be back tomorrow, same time, same place, 4 p.m. Central, to talk more Bulls with you, our fellow Bulls fans. Hit the like button on your way out if you didn't do it yet. We appreciate it. Make sure you also subscribe. Leave us rates and reviews if you're listening on your preferred podcast platforms. We appreciate those too. In the meantime, go Will_Gottlieb, Big Day, Bow, BAWL Sports. Our pal and producer on the controls is Joey Spathis. He is at Joey Spathis. He needs to watch Harry and the Hendersons. I'm Bulls_Peck. We are CHGO_Bulls. We will talk to you tomorrow. Enjoy these playoff games tonight. Hoops Junkies. See Red be good.
Love y'all. Peace.